Let's move over to the wide receivers, and we start with your man, Jay, Adam Thielen. He's only available in 47% of leagues, but he's got a great matchup with Dallas.
Yeah, my team is now built around Adam Thielen.
You built the plane
He's the
out of
foundational
Adam Thielen.
piece.
Yeah.
Some teams are built around Josh Allen. Me, Adam Thielen. That's fine. He's been awesome. He said, look, he's the number one wide receiver last year, and he was for a stretch, and he has a rapport with Bryce Young. And the key here is that Bryce Young is just playing really well.
Yes.
He was pressured a ton against Philadelphia, and he was still able, and he got nothing in terms of yak, and he was still able to basically won them the game, and Xavier Legette just dropped the pass.
Just can't catch the ball.
Right. He is playing really well. Much more favorable matchup now against Dallas, who the defense of Dallas does not look great, and they're dealing with more injuries. Micah Parsons is very, very upset after the game yesterday, but I think Thielen in a favorable matchup with the quarterback playing very well. I mean, I think he's a wide receiver 2 type of player this week.
There's no question. Over the last 4 weeks, Cowboys allowing the 5th highest catch rate to the slot. They're traveling on a short week. This game's in Carolina. And to your point, Bryce Young has looked a lot better. That offense has looked a lot more functional. And Adam Thielen, friend of the podcast. I'm surprised you don't have a picture of just you and him with me cut off. That was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago. Yeah,
2 years ago.
I might hunt that down in the ad break. But look, Bryce Young completely outplayed Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia last week. He's playing at a really high level. And not just like a high level, like, oh, Bryce Young looks like he might be coming. No, he's actually playing really well. And against the Dallas pass defense that has been pretty shaky, I think that Thielen should have success.
Yeah, it's sort of crazy, but in the 2 weeks since he's come back, he's been a top 10 fantasy wide receiver. He's wide receiver 9 on a points per game basis. So you sort of see some of the numbers there in terms of what the Panthers did against the Eagles. You know, Xavier Legette got the 8 targets as well. He's had back-to-back games with 8 targets, and I think, you know, the narrative on him and the line is different if he was able to come down with that touchdown at the end. Tough catch. I know everyone's killing him for it. Like, he caught the ball. It just, you know.
It's tough. He's a rookie. I mean, it's a tough play.
It was a tough play. He had to outstretch for it.
It wasn't a layup.
It's
one that you want your first-round pick to have. I get it.
It's a catch he should make. It's a catch that a professional wide receiver, especially a first-round pick, should make. But it wasn't a gimme. It wasn't like a bad drop or something like that. Well, you know, I mean, like, I don't know.
72% available, Xavier Legette, and everybody's thinking of that drop. But he has Dallas here, Matthew, and like you said, 16 targets over the last 2 weeks. There's going to be desperate people like myself probably starting him in the flex.
For sure. For sure. You know what? So this weekend, why not throw up the X?
Sure. Yeah.
Does it work? No? Doesn't work? It's no McConculus. I get it.
That was
bad
as well. I noticed he didn't run with that on Football Night in America.
Don't
say that it was because he wasn't playing.
It's
you
because
wouldn't have
he
done it
wasn't
anyway.
playing.
No,
I absolutely
chickened out.
It's not true. It's not true.
You should have said the offense may be less McConculus tonight without Ladd.
I should have. You know, where were you? I needed a script writer. Yeah, it's whatever. I will say it. The next Chargers game we get, I promise I will say it.
Those are plentiful.
I promise. He was inactive, so I had to pivot to Will Dissly. And, you know,
I tell you who wasn't McConculus on Sunday night was Will Dissly.
Yeah.
Who got hurt. Now he's out for weeks.
Or honestly, or me, because Dissly went down and the bets didn't hit, and like for the first time in 9 games that Cameron Dicker doesn't get 2 field goal attempts. Anyway,
he was due.
He was.
Jalen McMillan, our next wide receiver, he's got those Chargers, 95% available. And Matthew, we saw a little bit of a breakout from McMillan. He gets the 2 touchdowns, which is most important. But the sustainable aspect is he got 7 targets in this game.
Yeah, he did. He's had an 85% route participation over the last 2 weeks. Feels like he's finally coming into his own. And what was nice about the touchdowns here is that, hey, Baker's starting to look for him. They need somebody other than Mike Evans. And look, you expect it to be Cade Otton, but McMillan, who turned a lot of heads in training camp, won that 3rd wide receiver role after Evans and Godwin in training camp, got a little bit banged up. It's been somewhat of a quiet season after that hot training camp, but now over the last couple of weeks starting to find himself as well. They like to throw it deep to him. 41% of his targets this year have come on deep passes, and so going against the Chargers, like, they'll take some deep shots. They will. So I do think Jalen McMillan is kind of interesting for deeper leagues this week.
What do you think his ceiling is the final month of the season? Can he supplant Cade Otton as the clear number 2 in the pass-catching game?
I think that would be a little rich, but I think he can consistently get 6 targets. And I feel like it's going to be – the touchdowns are the part that, like, you got to throw out the window here. Is he going to catch 2 touchdowns every week? No, but can he do what Ray McCloud has done with the Falcons, which people will laugh. If you look at Ray McCloud every week, it's like, cool, I got 12 fantasy points over and over again. That would be my comparable for the rest of the year.
Be 4 for 50 each week with 25% chance of a touchdown.
Right,
exactly.
Perfect. Yep. And then, of course, we got to mention Sterling Shepard, who, I mean, he's got a 20% target share, Matthew, in 3 straight games. He's a guy that's out there, could catch you 4 passes, gives you a floor.
63 yards last week for Sterling Shepard, and again, he's taken over that Chris Godwin role in this offense. Now he's not as good as Chris Godwin. He's Sterling Shepard after all, but yeah, I mean, again, for deeper leagues, like he's a viable wide receiver he's had a couple of bright moments, touchdown a couple of weeks ago. So and to your point, again, last week 63 yards, that was a season high for Shepard. They're throwing a ton.
Elijah Moore in a similar, playbook here, Matthew. He's 78% available. He's got the Chiefs. He's still got Jameis Winston who's going to throw it. It was a quiet week for Moore, but he gets targets with Winston playing.
Since Jameis has been under center, 20% target share for Elijah Moore and at least 12 fantasy points per game. That's what he's playing. He's averaging 12 fantasy points per game with Winston. It's worth noting that is one area to attack Kansas City. They allow the most yards and the most receptions to the slot. Elijah Moore is the Browns' slot receiver as well. And, they're throwing a ton with Winston under center. Since he became the quarterback, they're second in pass attempts in the NFL. So Elijah Moore, I think, is kind of interesting in a game in which the Browns are likely in negative game script in chasing the Chiefs and having to throw.
We'll also keep an eye on Cedric Tillman's status this week. He's been dealing with a concussion now for 2 weeks, but before that, the 4 previous games he played, he was averaging 18.6 points per game. So if he clears concussion protocol, Cedric Tillman could be a start. Let's go over to Chargers wide receiver Josh Palmer. Jay, he's got one of the best matchups of the week against the Bucs, 84% available.
Yep, and the ultimate pass funnel defense in Tampa Bay because the run D has been very solid. And look, Josh Palmer, with Ladd McConkey, isn't able to go again or is banged up. Herbert has shown, McConkulus, sorry.
Catching on.
I like that
Could be Palmerlicious this weekend going up against the Bucs. What's wrong with that? It's just as good as McConkulus.
Disagree. McConkulus is so much better. McConkulus is so much better than Palmerlicious.
Palmerlicious sounds like a great ointment that you could run on.
That's going in the sin bin immediately.
Palmerlicious does sound like an ointment. I will give you that.
That's all I wanted. I just wanted something that sounded like an ointment, and I reached for it and I got it.
But not a good ointment. Like Palmerlicious sounds like something like grandma needs her Palmerlicious.
Yeah, like you got a rash.
Like this is like right. You've got to go put it on your grandma. You know what I mean? Because
sounds like a bad song by Chingy or 2 Chainz or something. Anyway, Josh Palmer, he is potentially the number 1 option for Justin Herbert.
Get back here
Again, why you like Chingy?
I didn't have a Chingy pull on my bingo card for fantasy football happy hour today.
I met him once in Australia. It was very strange.
Strange
interaction with Chingy. Very pleasant, but strange. Anyway.
What was strange about it?
Yeah, what happened?
What was strange
you
about
can't
it?
leave us
hanging. Now, why were you in Australia with Chingy?
He was doing a concert in Canberra. There was like 400 people at the concert afterwards. So it was the same
Did he meet everyone after the concert?
Well, you can just kind of go up to Chingy. I was like, all right, I guess I'll go up to Chingy. Yeah, brief interaction. Yeah. It's strange. Yeah. Anyway, can we talk about Josh Palmer? Can we talk about...
We can try.
Sure.
The guy who was...
Did you say hi, Chingy?
I think so. Yeah, I said, hello, Chingy. I'm Jay. He's like, hi, I'm Chingy.
All right, it's
a really good back and forth.
Yeah, not as bad as my wife when she met Flavor Flav and went, hello, Flavor. I swear to God, that's a true story. Yeah. No, yeah, Mr. Flav,
You gotta wonder what those people say when they go into a bank. Hi, I'm Flavor Flav. Can you bring up my checking account?
Yeah, I don't know. Does he need to show ID? I mean, he's Flavor Flav. Everyone knows Flavor Flav.
Yeah, well, I don't think your wife knew who
No,
he was.
she didn't.
So not everyone does.
Well, I told you that. I've told that story before on the show, but I was like, I met him and I was just like, oh, I'm a fan. It was great. I was like, honey, let's take a picture. Like, assuming my wife knows who he is. She's like, oh, it's so nice to meet you. What's your name? And he's just like, I'm Flavor Flav. I don't think anyone's ever asked him that question in his entire life. And so he's just like, I'm Flavor Flav. And then my wife, the sweetest can be, she goes, oh, well, it's so nice to meet you, Flavor. And I was just like, hey, what are we doing?
Amazing.
That's very, very good.
Very humbling.
Anyway, Josh Palmer, whose name is very much just Josh Palmer. His stats, which were good last week, he was 6 for 78 against the Chiefs, but his stats recently, I think they undersell what he's been doing. He's gotten so screwed by penalties and missed passes, particularly in the Ravens game. So Josh Palmer, very viable. This is the kind of guy that we thought that he would be coming into the season. Where we're like, yeah, he's being underdrafted because he's going to be Justin Herbert's wide receiver 1. We didn't know how good McConkulis was going to be, but Palmerlicious is making a renaissance.
Well, listen, it is a great
What a
matchup
bow.
against a bottom 10 defense in Tampa Bay in terms of reception yards and fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. 31% target share for Palmer. Would only feel comfortable if Ladd McConkey was out, if McConkulis was not going again for a second week. But yes, we're down this far on the list. Josh Palmer, suddenly viable.
How about some deep league wide receiver targets here? Ray McLeod makes this list. He's only 72% available because he has been pretty consistent. He's got the Raiders. That's a good matchup. You might need Ray McLeod.
Yeah, and to your point, 3 straight games with double-digit fantasy points for Ray McLeod. Like, he's been right.
He's a comfort blanket for Kirk Cousins, who really needs one right now.
Yeah, he does.
MVS, he just keeps getting away with it. He's 62% available. He's got the Commanders. Tim Patrick, 2 touchdowns last week. It was awesome.
Yeah, but 3 straight games with at least 40 receiving yards and 3 end zone targets over the past 2 weeks. Certainly,
he's a thing in the offense.
He is a thing in that offense, and the 2 touchdowns last week certainly bodes well for him to getting more work and looks this week for Detroit.
Tim Patrick, by the way, this is the guy who should be comeback player of the year. Why
He really should.
Joe Burrow was 3rd favorite for MVP coming into the season. The team is 5-8. I get that he's been amazing, but like, what's the comeback story? Tim Patrick didn't play football for 1,000 days, and now is a real part of an offense that's the best team in football.
Yeah, career-threatening lower body injuries in back-to-back seasons.
1,000%. I'm on board with this. Like, he's not going to win, but he should win. Tim Patrick should win.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. Let's start the campaign. And then we put Dontavian Wicks on here just because there's a chance that Romeo Doubs doesn't suit up. He's still in the concussion protocol. And Wicks did have a 26% target share last week. On the other hand, you know who had 0? Jaden Reed. The Packers wide receiver room is so like, how does Jaden Reed not get any receptions in a game? They're going so run heavy. Jordan Love's all over the place. Start Dontavian Wicks at your own peril. High risk, high reward. How lucky do you feel? I personally want no part of the Green Bay Packers passing game other than maybe Tucker Kraft in a playoff situation. Yeah. Like, it's just so volatile. But maybe braver men than I. Maybe some.
No, I'm not brave.
Anyway,
I'm a chicken.
I'm not playing Packers roulette in the fantasy playoffs.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.